Sure. Okay. I mean, basically, this is just an overview of Akwa Ibom state, and there's probably nothing new to a lot of people here. But Akwa Ibom is a population of about over 4 million people. It is the third largest producer of crude oil and natural gas in Nigeria. The state is rich in mineral resources, clay, limestone, glass sand, and has an abundance of also agricultural and forest products, including cassava, plantain, rice, banana, maize, and timber. Now, about the state's workforce, about 65% is engaged in subsistence farming. And there's a small industrial sector that has small and a handful of industries privately owned and operated. Now, as Al mentioned in his opening remarks, creation of jobs is vital on many of the levels and will be the basis for the economic development of Akwa Ibom. Politically, employment opportunities give the population a stake in the governing process and provide men and women of all ages a chance to earn stable income to fully support themselves, which would eliminate the need for violence as a means of existence, which now sometimes comes to play. Economically, employment provides income to poor families and also revises local demand for goods and services and promotes an overall general well-being. On the social level, employment provides social healing and improves the social welfare in the long run. Now, as Al indicated, we feel that government is important in this whole process, and there's a couple of ways that government can get involved, which he mentions the PPP with local entrepreneurs, that the government can import foreign expertise, industrial plants, machinery, and equipment that can develop the viable small and medium-scale industrial projects using, the abundance of natural resources in Akwa Ibom, such as oil and gas industry, the solid minerals, and agriculture, which is a very big. And the small and medium scale would be between 2 million to 25 million. Now, the other way that they can provide assistance is by assisting local businesses develop micro enterprises and cottage industries, which has a range of between 500,000 and 1 million. Now, on the next slide, we'll go into a little bit more detailed of what we feel projects that can assist Akwa Ibom, develop its potential and economic growth. The first project we feel that would be commendable is dredging and commercial sand production. The project will be developed using a fully equipped dredger capable of excavating 300 cubic yards of commercial grade sand per hour. The cost of the project, which we have devised with 2 dredgers covering cost, insurance, and freight, CIF, including training and startup, and would be $975,000. Now, all our projects are turnkey, and they include CIF and training if it's not mentioned.
And this is sand that can be used in the construction industry.
Yes, sand is a big component in concrete and asphalt products, and which is used by the construction industry. So, that would be the net revenue producing product would be the sand. Now, as it's been mentioned here before, medical is a definite priority, or should be a priority in the whole scheme of things, since it's a very important part of the social well-being of the population. So, we have the ability of devising a mobile medical diagnostic screening and primary health care service. It's a mobile unit. It's 48 feet It's furnished with a diesel generator. It has a fuel tank. It's self-contained. It can do diagnostic testings, a mammogram, X-rays, EKG. It also has wound care accessories. And the estimated cost of the trailer, complete with the listed equipment and startup medical supplies, as I indicated, CIF training and startup, would be about $865,000.
Totally customizable?
Yeah, I mean, this is, the list here that we have provided can be customized. If there's something in here that you feel should be included, we can do that. It's like A and B, you know, if you don't want the mammogram, if you want something else, we can provide that. Whatever you feel is the best suited for your specifications, we can configure that. That's not a problem. There's a little diagram up on the top. It's a little small, but you know that's the way it'll look. Now another thing that we feel is connected to the medical industry also, which is the medical bulk clinics. I mean, these can be used for the remote locations and settlements in Aquidum, on the river settlements, to be able to give them a little bit more access to medical services. A lot of these places are remote and they don't have the ability to, say, travel to the cities or someplace that they can get medical assistance. So this it will be a U.S. manufactured vessel, international standards, have a width of about 17 feet beam width and a length of about 65 feet. It'll be capable to go through the rivers and the creeks and to provide these people the medical assistance that they need. It'll be manned by 2 doctors and 8 nurses, and it'll be able to treat about 1,000 patients per week.
It's like a normal hospital that floats.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's it. It can do all the services of a hospital, and because of its ability to go through the rivers, it'll be able to go to the people instead of the people having to come to them. And the boat, equipment, and supplies would be from about $973,000. Now, the next one that we have is Medical Technician Training Center. And as Al mentioned, and I think everybody agrees, the way forward for economic growth is to provide employment for the youth and for people. So this is really like a technical school, but it's geared towards the medical industry. We would have an affiliation with a U.S. facility to train the medical technicians. So this way there'll be skilled jobs to fill the gap now in the state, and it would be able to. They would have full certification for jobs like patient care technicians, dialysis technicians, nursing assistants, things that are needed in the medical industry. And it'll be a full certified program, and the cost would be about $995,000.
And the revenue comes in from tuition?
Right. I mean, basically, it's, if you think of a school, tuitions, and not only for Aquidum State, it can start maybe from Aquidum State, and it can be in general. The other states in Nigeria too can get involved, and Aquidum would be the leader because it would be there, and so it would generate revenue from tuitions and things like that, just like a regular college. The next one that we have is crawfish trawling project. To make use of the abundance of fish and shrimp in the area. It would be a commercial run project. It would be a refurbished vessel, and it would be able to do deep sea fishing off the coast of Nigeria. And this would be a pre-owned vessel in training and would be from about $850,000. Now, the next, LPG plant, most of the cooking in Nigeria is done from, from the tanks, the propane tanks. And so we would be able to do, the processing unit would produce the gas gathering plant as a product for the bottling, which would be for domestic consumers, such as using it for cooking and things like that. We would be able to have different capacity bottles based on what is needed, and the estimated cost for CIF installation and are, I have to put my glasses on, 870,500. Now, the next, which we talked about in the beginning, is that, Aquibum has a abundance of natural resources, including in the agricultural and cassava and things like that. And this project would take advantage of that. We would input 250 tons of cassava to get at 75 tons based on the little chart above, which would have the products that would be actually produced. We would need, obviously, the cooperation of small farmers to have the tubers to be processed, and as everybody knows here, cassava and Gary is a stable food product. I mean, they even have now started putting it in bread, so it's a very viable project, and it'll make use of the cassava in the region. So these 250 tons per day would include installation, training, and startup, and it's about 897,000.
And there is no waste with the cassava process.
Right. I mean, most of the cassava is a product that you can use almost everything. I mean, it can be done chips, animal, livestock, feedstock. It can be done as a end product too of the cassava. So almost everything is used. Now the farming process in Nigeria in general is very manual and labor intensive, which isn't very productive. They'll have more production. The plant would, or the farm project would start with 500 hectares of land. We would plant the tubers. They would be harvested after 9 months, and there would be a yield root of about 50 tons per hectare. One of the things which we talked about is creation of jobs, and this project would create about 1,000 jobs for workers and with 25,000 tons of cassava tubes per year. The project would cost about $991,000, covering the cost of the leasing of the farmland, which if somebody has land that they don't need to lease, obviously we could also work on that also.
In this case, the land is not purchased?
Well, it doesn't have to be purchased. It can be leased, or if somebody has a piece of property that they have that they feel can be used for this kind of thing, they can also take that into effect, and they don't need to have to lease it. This is on the same concept as the previous one, as cassava, only it's tomato, and it would also create job creation, which would be 500 workers and produce 18,000 tons of tomatoes. This project, as we discussed before, the leasing, farming machinery, CIF, which includes 3 months startup operation expenses, would be about $844,000. Now, this is plantain, cassava, and potato chips. I mean, I know Nigeria isn't big on junk food. Anybody who lives in the U.S., they know junk food is a big staple here. But it can be used to do about 12,000 pounds per day, and it can be pre-packaged and sold to supermarkets. And that, including CIF installation, would be from about 877,000. Now, another thing that we feel is viable, it's a food source. Nigerians eat a lot of fish. It's a full agriculture system that would produce tilapia and catfish in tanks, and it would hold, each tank would hold about 20,000 tilapia and catfish. You could do it in pre-packed packages, whole fish or fillets, whatever would be required, and there'd be a huge, distribution system set up for supermarkets and restaurants, which would training and startup include about 895.
These are big fish tanks.
Very big fish tanks. The ammonia ice plant. I mean, a lot of these things can be interchange, like ammonium ice plant. Freon is a much more expensive way of creating ice. This plant can be used in connection with the trawlers so that the fishermen's catch can be kept and preserved until they get it to cold storage or something for the ice. So a lot of these things can be intermingled. It would be able to produce 120 tons per day of ice flake and 3,500 tons per day of tube ice. And it can be used, as I said, for the boat fishing and trawling industry. The portable ice or the tube ice can be used for functions, and there's also a block ice that can be also done. The installation, training, and startup would be about $925,000. Now, there's not too many, fertilizing plants in Nigeria, and it's something that would be good to hook up with the agricultural industry. It can produce multi-nitrogen fertilizer using nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and that would do 35 tons per day and would be a cost estimated about $994,000. Now, the next one is meat processing, packing, and distribution. And this would be, can do a quantity of cattle and goats that can be supplied from the local herders or suppliers from the northern states of Nigeria, where most of the cattle comes from. It can process different beef cuts and would include distribution to restaurants and supermarkets as the fish. This equipment installation and startup is about $925,000.
It's customizable?
Yeah, if you want to say customized, we can do, if you only want to do cattle, if you only want to do goats, or if you want to do a combination, possibly pigs, that can be done too. It's whatever, we can do it to the specifications of whatever's needed. Okay, this is a commercial drilling rig. It can be a business that can do commercial drilling of boreholes. Mostly all the wells are boreholes in Nigeria, so it is a good business. They'll be able to go from 100 feet to 250 feet. The drill would also be able to do soil sampling, seismic exploration, and they'll develop the package. It'll have 2 rigs and the support accessories, and it's about $745,000.
And this can also be used in the construction business, right?
Yeah, because it can work on foundation laying and things like that, which can be used in construction. Well, that completes the micro enterprises. We'll move into the small and medium scale industry projects. Now, these are obviously a little bit more costly, but they can also be scaled down instead of the capacity can be scaled down to make them into micro enterprises, such as, this is a grain storage, because there's really not too many grain storage silos in Nigeria. Instead of 5,000 metric tons, we can do at 500 or 1,000 metric tons, so that this way it will be complete, depending on the capacity that somebody is capable of using. So this has 4 1,250 metric ton storage silos, and comes with the drying control system and all the equipment. So training and startup would be $7.75 million. The next one is sort of can be hooked up to the trawling vessel and work with the local fishermen. They'll have a place to actually come and to bring their fish, where the facility or whoever the promoter is would buy the fish from the fishermen, add value to it, determine how to prepackage it and distribute it to fish stores that can be set up in various areas, as well as grocery stores and supermarkets. Also, it's training and startup. Everything is included for about $12.75 million.
The fishermen usually just smoke the fish to preserve it, right?
Yeah, and this will give them another option to actually to have fresh fish and that they can that they can, that the whoever, package, and whoever does something like this, the fishermen will have a ready-made market for their catch.
And this is a complete processing plant and distribution center.
Right.
with
I mean, we'll
stores.
set up we factored in setting up the stores and the distribution trucks and everything is included in there. This is a natural gas gathering and processing plant. This is the only project in this group that cannot be really scaled down. It has to be done in its entirety. Obviously, Aquibum has, oil, and so it can take the raw natural gas from the wellheads and use it as a raw material and then process it into, LPG gas for bottling, like naphtha, which can be used for industrial raw materials, or lean gas as a means of power generation. The installation, training, project implementation management, in a typical gas gathering and processing plant is about between 5 and 40 million MMSCFD is about 25 million.
And this can turn into a power production facility.
I mean, it can, you can use it as a cogeneration plant that can be integrated into the gas gathering project. This is a liquid asphalt production plant. It can be used in the construction industry. It would produce 1,000 barrels to 3,000 barrels of liquid asphalt from either crude oil or fuel or residuum. Obviously, the residuum is basically a more cost-effective way of doing it as the raw material. It could also be connected to an asphalt batch line for the production of bituminous materials that can be used in road construction and surfacing. It can be also done with a batch line, which is capable of mixing the asphalt for road patching and pavement. This is 1,000 barrel per day asphalt with 3 tons batch plant that CFF training, about 7.98 million.
And it basically uses the leftover from the refinery.
Right, the residuum, which is not really, there's not too much done with it anyhow. So it's a cost-effective way of producing this raw material that's used a lot in the construction industries. The next, which we mentioned too in the beginning of the presentation, that Aquibum has a lot of mineral resources, and so to take advantage of that, we've put this processing plant in here. It would be able to take the coal, the silver, or whatever it is, to produce secondary raw materials, which can be sold to cement, construction companies, paper, paint, and chemical industries as a means of revenue. The cost, CIF installation training, is from about 11.75 million.
And if there is granite available?
Yeah, I mean, granite can be included in there, and it can be crushed and used as aggregates for the construction industry. They use them a lot. The next is a water bottling and soft drink production plant. Now, obviously, water is a very necessary commodity, and it takes into account the bottling. It's about 56,000 gallons of water per day from a project borehole specifically dug for the plant. It can also produce bottled or the carbonated soda, about 900 gallons, and it'll be done in PET bottles. I don't know if everybody has ever seen them, but these circles that have a machine that you put it in, and out comes the bottle. So everything is included, blow molding and the PET bottle mold machines, and so that at a cost of about $765, including training and startup.
And electricity can sometimes be a concern, right?
All our projects, just as a general note, all our projects are geared towards having alternate power sources, generators, things like that. So all the prices are included in there are alternate power source, generation, like, 1 megawatt, whatever we feel is needed to run the plants in case anything happens to electricity. This is something similar, only it's a different line. It has a fruit juice extraction. Nigeria has a lot of tropical and citrus fruits, and it would be advantage to be able to take advantage of that and turn it into a business. It'll have extraction, bottling lines. It can also do water bottling also, as the previous one did soda and water. This does fruit juice and water, and it's at a cost of $9.5 million.
And Nigerian fruits are the best.
They are the best. I can attest to it. They are. The pineapple, is like the sweetest. They have those little bananas, which you cannot find anywhere else. I've tried. You can't. I've bought them here in the U.S. and they're horrible. So it's definitely a good project, and they do have some of the good fruits. Microbrewery is on the same concept. It would produce obviously beer instead of the soda. It has the PET bottles that it can be used for the soft drinks. It can do bottled water. Actually, it can do all three. This one can do all three: the beer, the water, and the soft drinks. And that's at a cost of $5.5 million. Canned tomato paste can work hand in hand with the mechanized tomato farming, which we've showed previously. It would be capable of doing about 2,500 to 6,000 metric tons of tomato into canned tomato paste. It would need it's the same concept of the cassava. It would need the support of the smallholders, farmers of about 70 to 150 hectares. It includes all the equipment. There's two sizes. One is a smaller one, which is 7.75, and the other one will have a little bit bigger capacity of 90 to 100 cans of tomato paste per minute. It includes the building, the factory building, at a cost of $9.25 million. Now, another thing that we felt we should put in here was the waste collection, processing, and recycling project. It will collect, household and industrial waste, plastic, scrap metal, things like that. It'll be constructed to work as a commercial unit, operating on 3 levels of waste collection, sorting, and processing, with a capability of about 50 to 100 tons per day. The estimated cost in installation, training, and startup would be about $6.47 million.
So basically, it's keeping the cities clean and making it a business.
Yeah, it would serve 2 purposes. It would give, the city would be able to have a nicer look, and it's a profitable business, so it is like sort of a twofold. The next project, pharmaceutical, obviously is something that is very much needed in Akwa Ibom and Nigeria as a whole. The scarcity of drugs for the HIV, the malaria, tuberculosis is a major problem, and we can assist and set up a manufacturing plant and distribute licensed generic. They would be generic drugs to some of the major to assist with some of the major diseases. It'd also be able to, the plant would also be able to do IV solutions, wound care, bandages, things like that. And that's a cost of about $12.75 million.
Once it is up and running, this is a product for export also.
Yeah, obviously it's needed all in West Africa, or in Africa in general. The drugs are not accessible. So it's definitely, once it gets up and running, there's definitely export potential, and there's a lot of potential with this. Now, amusement park, we felt that, to give families some entertainment, it would be an international standard amusement park. We could put in whatever you like. There's go-karts, there's water rides and attractions. There's a pre-engineered game hall, like a video game hall, and and this would cost about $10.7 million.
Customizable.
Yeah, I mean, we can also do it on a smaller scale if wanted, based on what would be needed. You know, obviously it would be smaller. You can pick and choose what rides you would want. So we can, you know, also do that. Now, I just wanted to mention, the gentleman mentioned housing, which we really haven't included in our presentation. But, you know, the list, these projects that we put in are not inclusive. I mean, there's a lot of other things that we can help with, and housing is one of them. You know, we have a large network of global, American, European, Asian manufacturers and suppliers that we work with. So we can really basically assist with anything that you might have, any idea that you might have that isn't included in here. Just so you know, I mean, Tech Modular, how we would do this is, you know, Tech Modular is really and the key word here is turnkey project development and technical management company. And what we do, and our expertise is project implementation, planning, and development, site engineering and construction, procurement of plants, machinery, and equipment to develop the projects, on-site training and startup. We can also do operations and management of the projects also. And as I said previously, we work with all global suppliers, which so we can develop and operate and manage these viable small and medium projects that we have presented to you. Now, we also work with financial consulting and business credit companies, so to assist you in obtaining funding for the execution of these projects. We work with local entrepreneurs and project implementation managers, and we can obtain funding and support to import of foreign expertise and expatriates, industrial plants, machinery, and equipment, to develop any of these projects in Aquibum. Now, one of the things that we always do provide too as an additional is Tech Modular can further train local personnel to run the plants after using, in the beginning, say, foreign expatriates. You know, we talked about job creation, and this is part of it. You know, they need to have skilled workers to operate these. So it's a continuing process, and we will start with expatriates that will gradually hand over the running of the plant, so that it's a continuous cycle of employment for the people in Aquibum, and it's something that we include in all of our projects. So there is definitely a large potential for employment, which will take away some of the violence and create a more quality of life for the people in Aquibum. I also want to say that, you know, if anybody is interested, you know, this was a short synopsis as far as the projects. And if anybody has a project that they see here that they would like more information, you know, we can provide at no cost a detailed, what we call a turnkey offer for development and operation. And
At no cost.
At no cost, and work with you, which will, towards the implementation. And if there's anything, like I mentioned before, not included in this presentation, we can also do that. If you have an idea, you can send it to us. We'll review it, and we'll be able to, you know, package it, qualify it, and see what's the best way how to develop it. So I want to thank you for your time, and hope it wasn't too boring. And so. You're welcome.
Thank you. Please, another big round of applause for them. Please, I don't think you should leave us yet.
No, that's okay. I have some time.
Okay, good. Definitely. I think I should, maybe you should use this mic so I could give the mic to the other people so that you can understand or hear them when they're saying something. Okay. All right. It's obvious what the next session is all about.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
I pick an interest in your commercial cassava processing project. First question is, what system is yours? Is it a dry process or a wet process?
You know, we work with a bunch of manufacturers, and you know, it depends on what you would want. What if you feel dry or whichever you prefer to do it, we can work that way. I mean, we don't have, we have other people that can give, say, recommendations based on what, you know, specifications that you have. So, and we work with a lot of different people that have they all have different technology. So it's not one, say, system per se.
Okay, because of the environment where we come from,
Yes.
and the Akwa Ibom, which you've shown tremendous interest, because I'm already in it. I have a plant already.
Okay.
In Oyo. Why I ask you that question is because if it's possible, I'd like to discuss further on that,
Okay.
and then we see if we can get your system. I wish you know what your system is.
Mm-hmm.
If you had this system ready, and then we could speak on it, because I am interested in commencing
Okay.
with that. So I don't know if there's any technology available that smallholders could use to mechanize their own farms, given the space available. So I'd like to pick on and talk on that with you
Sure.
after this.
Well, I think that, you know, mechanized farming can be done in small, you know, small groups. I mean, they can even form co-ops. I mean, a lot of times now in a lot of industries, agricultural industries, you know, they form co-ops, and everybody is you know, belongs to, say, a co-op, and it provides them a little bit more expansion. But we can talk about that, and we can see, you know, what we can do.
I'll pick on the issue of funding, because what we are looking for really is a group that will be interested in bringing in funds to partner with us. We have the land already, we have the building, and then the equipment we bought, because we bought them from Colombia, and we are having difficulties with it. We are ready to...
Did you say Colombia? Is
Yes,
that what-
yes.
Okay.
And we may not be able to proceed with that. So this is why I'm interested in your own plans. If you could just
Right.
do that, and then we discuss and then maybe you should also help us to look for investors
Right.
rather than sellers of equipment.
Right. I mean,
Of
we can
partners.
do that too. I mean, like I said, you know, the meeting of turnkey is not only, you know, the full implementation and installation and everything. I mean, you know, hand in hand, we can help to finding investors if that's what is needed, or you know, we can do it on a basis of, you know, part investment, part equity, part, you know, so we can structure it in a lot of different ways once, you know, say we sit down and actually figure out which is the best way to do it. I mean, there might be some equipment that maybe we can salvage
Replace.
from what you have, and I mean,
Yeah.
it would be, you know, a whole process of just sitting down and looking and talking about everything.
Okay.
You know, so we can have, you know, conversations. We do a lot of stuff, you know,
Okay.
email and
Okay.
and phone calls and stuff. So we can definitely still have conversation. Like I said, I wish I was staying.
That's fine.
So-
I'll give you my contact. And then
Okay,
we'll
that's
take
fine. I'll give you my card also.
it. Thank you.
Right. Okay. This side, Prof.
I had part of your presentation in my email at home, and I was wondering whether I would be able to attend. In fact, one of those of this presentation encouraged me to come. As an agriculturist, I'm interested in your paper, And I want to ask whether you are interested in doing all this in Akwa Ibom, or you are just presenting them.
I mean, we are interested in working in Akwa Ibom, and obviously part of this summit is to determine, what is the best for Akwa Ibom. And so, these are things that we feel would add to the economic growth. And, we can do all of them, we can do one of them, or we can, it's sort of based on, and a lot of it, too, which we talked about, is having government support these things. And so, we can, pick and choose, but we are able, to do everything that was presented.
Well, what about feasibility studies? Have you been to Akwa Ibom to do the feasibility studies, or you just did on internet?
I go to Nigeria frequently. I haven't specifically gone to Akwa Ibom, to do these feasibility studies. I mean, we have done feasibility studies and analysis on a general, based on Nigeria as a whole, and Akwa Ibom with the resources and the things that they have, should fit in still with the assumptions we've made based, doing this feasibility studies.
Okay. Do you have any of this industry running any part of Africa or Nigeria?
I mean, we have, West Africa, we've done work. We do have some things in Nigeria, and we have some, say, potential works in progress in, all over the world, Russia, the Caribbean, so yes, we do.
Okay. We have a University of Science and Tech, which is we're working on. In fact, members of the board are interested in most of the things you are talking about, and we will be happy to work with you. We also have an NGO, Akwa Ifeok Foundation, which has project on all this, especially the health. I saw that your presentation did not take care of processing of oil palm kernel, and palms in general.
I mean, we can do that. In fact, I know that there's a plantation in Akwa Ibom, isn't there?
Yes, a lot of palms.
So, we can do that. There's a lot of things that we can do that we didn't put into the presentation. We could probably be here all day. And so we sort of tried to pick and choose, but we can do palm oil. In fact, we have a feasibility study based on that. So, and I know it's used, throughout Nigeria. So, yes, that is, we can definitely do that.
Okay. I'd like to meet with you immediately after this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
What sort of model can you apply in the cooperatives, getting people together, handing over these to groups, maybe working through banks, so that you can recover your money? So it's not actually government expenditure direct, but government guarantees. And then government, another attraction is that if we can provide a kind of template that says, government, you don't have to put down 100%. And they don't have to do that. If you can bring in this percentage, we can network with you so it becomes a partnership, because most of the people that come from abroad are coming to take. And we are trying to discourage government from those who come to take. We want to encourage government to work with those who come to partner, because from experience, most of the industries that we have from those who come to take don't last. There's no incentive for those industries to work. They just take their money and go. But somebody who knows he's in it for the long haul will ensure that that factory is sustainable and runs, because their interest is localized.
The government obviously has a financial capability of doing a lot of these things. And so, like you said, it doesn't have to be 100%, and they don't have to start with everything. I mean, they can pick and choose what they feel. And the whole thing is, and part of this whole exercise is to create jobs. And so, one of the things is to make sustainable economic growth by teaching and giving these people skills so they can continue, and it'll be more than, like you said, people coming and leaving and having no continuation. And so that's part of it, and they can start with one or they can start with two or whatever.
All right, I think those are possibilities, but like I said, I like to repeat it for emphasis and for everything. We have a lot of industries that are not working because the people just came, planted the industries, got their money, and ran. So what we want to do is encourage government to work with people who are willing to have equity contribution and a stake so that at least for about 10 years or thereabout, they will be there to make sure that those factories work. They don't work, your money's going. Okay. There's a project that we're having on the desk of Mr. President as of today, which has to do with cottage industries and housing. I would have liked us to look into that because it's something that is on the ground and set to go. So, but if your time is limited, then probably we'll work by mail. So I'm sure one way or the other will be able to do that. I think there should be a collaboration between IPC and Akisan so that IPC takes up the business session in Akisan. And I can imagine if the whole of the Akwa Ibom community were listening to this, it would be more useful than some of the things we call business session, and you go and sit down, all you are hearing is repeating stories of what is going on at home, and that does not really give you what you need to take back home. Very, very personal opinion, please. Well, we must at this point agree that we've come to the end of the first session, extremely exciting. The second session, trust me, I think some of those who were resting will now be able to come out. They would have rested enough. Second session is going to be extremely hot, I see, incisive and interesting, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So ladies and gentlemen, please could you give yourselves a big round of applause for the first round.